Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Sally Good, Good Body, Good Brain podcast. And as you know, I have some of the most creative, smartest people ever on this podcast. If you've been paying attention, to pay attention, I want you to follow us and subscribe because that helps out. Today, I have a person that's so talented, we probably have to do about 5 podcasts to really explore all the aspects of her abilities. And her abilities aren't always her own, and I'll let her explain that. Because Karen Edgett is a visionary. She is a visionary in everything she touches, including cooking. And I do love cooking. I do love deciding, like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to cook. Let's open up the cabinets and see what I can put together. So she does something called intuitive cooking, and I'm going to let her decide what part of that she's going to tell you. So I'm going to just turn it right over to Karen, and let's talk about some things about cooking and also how it affects your being in the world. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Sally. Thanks for that lovely intro. And it's nice to be here, and I've enjoyed our chats leading up to this podcast. So cooking is like, there's those of us who like to do it and those of us that don't. And I imagine all good cooks have some intuitive connections to cooking. I studied nutritional cooking in part to heal myself from a bunch of physical ailments, and found out that it was also helping me spiritually, emotionally, everything else too. And so I know we've all studied the gut-brain connection and the vagus nerve connection to everything, but it really goes much beyond that, further beyond that, into this sort of spiritual realm and opening up connections to all that is, kind of raising it's one thing to sit and raise the vibration of your soul and your, your consciousness and your heart and but food can help you actually raise the vibration of your body as well. Mm-hmm. Your body likes movement as well, but the energy within your body is so connected to what you eat. So, and the wellness of it. And I don't really want to overly talk about the wellness of it because that subject is covered by many good nutritionists and scientists out there. But what I have found when I was teaching cooking, I was teaching a lot of fermenting and how to activate the nutrition in foods, ways of preparation to activate it. And I started to think, well, if we're not just activating the nutrition, we're activating the food itself. We're raising the vibration of it. There's just the way you prepare food, the way you harvest food, the way you grow food. It all builds the vibration of the food higher and higher or lower and lower. And not that I'm promoting being on a plant-based diet per se for people, but I got called about 7 years ago to become all plant-based, and partly because my body felt like it was in shock all the time, and I'm like, what is going on? And it was the vibration of meat was not in sync with where I needed to be. And I checked into that a little further, and it seemed that somehow any animals that are not treated well, everything forms these sort of grids. People are connected to people, they're connected to animals. And the vibration of animals was lowering because of the way we raise them. And I know some people raise them beautifully, but the majority are not raised beautifully. And their connection was resonating inside of me. And so I stopped eating meat, and my body kind of leveled out and became sort of harmonized again, or more, calm. So I've been on this journey to understand food intuitively when I walk through the grocery stores, I look for the food that's talking to me and either say hi
Yes.
to it or buy it.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I recently did a podcast with a friend of mine, and I was not even sure what we were going to do on that podcast that day, but some beets were yelling at me, and not yelling at me, but saying psst, psst, in the store, and I brought them home, and we did the whole podcast talking to the beets. And,
Mm-hmm.
and the beets were just like, telling us all about how they were raised and their benefit to us, and how they wanted us to cook with them, and how they like funny jokes and stuff like that. And they explained that they feel like that root that comes out is actually their head. So once you pull them out of the ground, they go the other way. The roots here and their leaves of the
Mm-hmm.
skirt. Not that anybody needs
Yes.
to know any of that stuff.
But I love beets, and
you love it?
Oh, I do. I love them. I love them anyway. I love borscht. I love beets done anyway. And when I go to the salad bar, most people don't get beets, and I just I crave them. There's something about the bioenergy of a beet that like helps your nitrous oxide levels. It's just such an incredible
Cleans out your
vegetable.
kidneys. Yeah, your kidneys and your
Yeah.
liver too. So it helps on all biophysical levels, and it's apparently a very happy food. So it probably lifts your energy to makes you a little more buoyant, a little happier to eat the beets.
Mm-hmm.
It's also in that red zone. It's the color of love.
Yeah, I'm also yes, the high oxidant section, right? Also, too, I think that if people noticed, like if they just ate one thing for say like a day, because I could eat beets all day because I could fix it in totally like different kinds of ways. If I ate beets for a day and I could feel the way it made my body feel, then I would have a better way of describing it, like, what it infused within me. And most of us don't even think about, we think about food as energy. I tell people, like, what kind of gas are you going to put in your Maserati? You're not going to put low test. You're going to put high test. And it makes the Maserati function in its optimal speed and optimal everything cranking up. So that vision,
absolutely. And I think we ended up interviewing quite a bit of different food items, and they talked about how they like to be combined with other foods, and they talked about the importance of everybody along the way, from someone who's nurturing the soil to planting the seeds to growing them to transporting them. And then they also talked about how they did or didn't like to be prepared. And most foods universally did not like to be dehydrated, oddly enough, but anything else worked.
Oh,
So it was a strange conversation to actually be able to talk directly to the food. One of the foods that on my website, I post recipes. I don't really teach anymore because I feel like I'm learning so much every day. I don't really feel comfortable creating a curriculum. So I post recipes every once in a while that I think are really helpful for people to know on my website, and let people know with an email or something. But one of the foods that I like the most for raising your immune system, raising your energy, raising your divinity, all of that is garlic. And one of the interesting aspects of garlic is that if you smash it, there's two compounds in there that create allicin, which is like a penicillin type of substance that's a probiotic and an antibiotic in one. So it's very useful for overall health issues in a lot of ways. And so I posted a whole thing on garlic, and I get lots of hits from Google on my garlic. So I decided, since one of my passions is garlic dressings, that I would make a little cookbook on garlic dressings with what I call activated garlic that's actually been turned into the allicin or the penicillin type of capacity. And to do that, you smash this is all in my book, but if you smash the garlic and you wait 5-10 minutes, and then you add it to, in this case, the dressings, but if you were going to add it to a soup or something you're making, you would add it at the last minute, because the more you cook that, the more the compound degrades.
Breaks down. Yes.
Yeah, and it doesn't become as effective. Now, there's many other good aspects to garlic, so you don't have to take it for the penicillin type of the probiotic or antibiotic type of aspect, but it's fabulous and it's been used for centuries and centuries to open up your channels to, divination of whatever kind, or channeling, and probably written in every religious text is something.
Oh, absolutely. You're making me think of tahini. I used to make tahini all the time, and that's a highly garlicky kind of thing, because the garlic isn't cooked. You're eating it raw. And
Right.
Does the garlic like to be eaten raw, or does it matter whether you cook it or not?
So the garlic itself, first of all, it just likes to be eaten. So there's that part of the garlic, but it's basically, if it has priority, it wants you to eat it fresh. Like, it's not the end of the world if you get it, in those jars where they've already taken all this, done all the work for you. They've taken the paper, the husk off of it. But it's better if you do that yourself. And it just wants everybody to know it can help if you need an antibiotic. It can help. And it is strong for the immune system, and it will open up your channels. So get garlic into your diet. It's roughly 3 cloves of garlic that makes one typical dose of antibiotic. And you don't have to eat that all at once. You could eat it throughout the day. Or you could put it in your salad dressing. And then you have a little bit of it all the time, So it's a lot of fun. So the cookbook I made is, it's actually published on my website now. It's called Garlic Lovers Dressings. And it's a little collection of, this one is a collection of dressings that are good for autumn and fall, or autumn and winter. Let me get the seasons right. And it has like an apple sage dressing in there.
Ooh.
Yeah, a pear dressing, a anchovy dressing, and all of these dressings use actually a mandarin. Those mandarins that come in, you can actually make a dressing out of them. And they're all using activated garlic and slightly different fats in them, from olive oil to nuts. I think I even have one more eccentric dressing in there with chestnuts. I'm not expecting everybody.
Oh yes, many people. They did a whole thing on chestnuts in one of the foodie magazines, and I went, "Where do you buy those? I mean, do you have to special order them? Where do you get those from? Chestnuts roasting on the open fire. Yeah, where are those?"
I know. Well, we used to have a lot of chestnut trees in this country, and that was a staple for a long time. But they're on their way back, and I think you can still find them roasting on some street corners. Probably not down where you are, but maybe in more culinary aware cities like New York City or something. But you can buy them in any grocery store. They sell them seasonally, and off season you can buy them in little packets. They're already pre-roasted and pre-peeled, and then they're in little packets, like you get other nuts in packets or something.
Okay. Well, now you've got me curious. I'm going to have to investigate after we get off this call.
I'm imagining that some of the major retailers are really good at having some. So anyway, the cookbook is going to publish everywhere this week. I thought it was going to be out on Friday, right before this call, but it's not out yet. And You'll be able to find it on everything, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, in your show notes, it'll people will be able to get to it because they purchase it off your website too, like as a PDF.
They can, and I have a
Mhm.
$5 coupon that I offer. I think I sent to you, so you can post that on there too. It's on
Okay,
my website.
okay.
It's actually a PDF version on the website, and it'll be an EPUB
Mhm.
everywhere else. So if
Yep.
they prefer the one on my website's karenedgett.com. You
Mhm.
have to spell my name right though. And
Yes, yes, and it's spelled differently because here's what I'm going to do. People who are listening, I'm going to hide this for now, and then now they can see your name, and that's how they're going to know to go to KarenEdgett.com to look for
oh
this
yeah,
fabulous cooking thing. Ooh, I love sage too. That's one of my faves. So, and this is a good time of year to have it. But
yeah, it really is.
let's talk a little bit about more about the Karen. Let's talk about the Karen. Uh,
Okay.
um, tell me a little bit about that piece that's behind your head.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm an artist, and
Mhm.
this is one of my larger pieces. I think there's
Oh,
five in
oh,
this.
the colors are fabulous. Colors. Oh, love it.
I'm gonna take a little cough while we're off camera. I'm just ending a little cold.
Yeah, just take your time.
I don't know how you cough on camera. It feels like you want to suppress it. Um, but anyway, these pictures are this one in particular is part of a series I did exploring the whole concept of infinity, and
Hmm.
not really as a mathematical symbol, but
No.
something that actually um, takes the motion of infinity and the dimension of infinity and the
Mhm.
timelessness of infinity and just kind of plays with it. A lot of my infinity paintings are actually flying. These are floating right behind me. They're
Mhm.
all done in iridescent colors and stuff, and they
Mhm.
basically have not to sound too woo woo, but they have some sort of fairy magic in them, and
Mhm.
they change the energy of a room or the people in the room, and they're kind of designed to be these energetic consciousness shifters, as well as being
Activators.
visually interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
activators, right? As
Yes.
well as being interesting to
Mhm.
look at their, the patterns in them and the movement in them and the symbol of, really just potential or possibility beyond what we really conceive. It takes you out of
Mhm.
linear time, takes you out of, where you once were. This one back here
Can
is
I
called
get
Earth Unity.
Earth Unity and is the other one, the pink one, more air, or where do you go with the pink one? Pinkish one.
Oh, interesting. I don't have a title for that one.
Uh-huh.
Actually, I probably do have a title for it, but I don't have it written on it. Sometimes I really hesitate with my titles because I'm not really sure.
Mhm.
Um, they tell me their titles after I've done them, and so I'm
Yes.
not really sure what their titles are going to be. So that one might
Can
be.
I
Go ahead.
oh, no, it might be what? Might be what?
The title might be waiting to come out.
Okay.
I have
Let me oh,
go
no,
ahead.
show me. Show me. Yes.
Well, this is a little book I put together of a lot of my paintings, which I tend to do, and then they all have little haikus when they've revealed them to me. They all have little haikus. This is a
Mhm.
one. It's been purchased. The original's been purchased, but it says, "Even on a cloudy day, I'm here," and it really is
Oh, love that.
yeah, it's
Love that.
referencing the
Yeah.
consciousness of
Mhm.
um, you know, of of divinity in yourself. It's like call
Mhm,
yourself in even when things aren't quite right. This one is
mhm,
these are all part of my I am series. This one's I am
mhm.
immersed in calm waters, and it's just they're a lot of fun. And then I have um this is a really large one. Um
Oh, okay.
Blues and golds. This is one from my Flying Infinity series. And the poem
Mhm.
in this one is, do you see my soul in all its divinity as I cross your path? And
Ah,
it's
that's a
kind of
good
like,
one.
yeah, do you know? And
When
this
you were
is,
talking Oh, go ahead.
well, these
I
are
have
all
a
just
little
part
riff.
of, go
I
ahead.
have a riff on painting. Um, when you were talking about being out of time and space, getting out of linear kind of concepts, when we're talking about infinity, but not infinity as infinity, but how when you're even meditating or being in a place of what people call satisfaction, but yet knowing beyond the satisfaction, there's a big, immense abundance. I don't even give it a noun because it's not nameable.
Hmm.
That beyond the infinity is your connection with the source that gives you all of the creativity. And that when you're meditating, if you think about the space around you as opposed to your own body, and the space around you allows you to be in any place, any time, anywhere, any planet, any wherever that goes. That painting, I would think, if you meditated on it, it would take you or
Right.
help you go to those kind of places.
Yeah, that is the point of it. I have one friend who got one of my paintings large in her living room, and
Mhm.
I think she was having a hard time, and the painting was so soothing to her that um, it just changed. It calmed her down. And so every day,
Mhm.
things got a little better and a little better and a little better. But it was ushering in, what is next, you
Yes.
know,
Mhm.
and not, not in a real defined way, like taking a
Yes.
course or whatever, but just
Mhm.
energetically, the way you're feeling, your vibration, your ability to um, step from one thing to another with some kind of
Mhm.
ease and grace, and
Oh,
just
yes, totally. I always like to think that that all the doors are there and there is opaqueness to them. So when you can be totally receptive of whatever's happening, um, like almost like suspending like limited beliefs and being in this particular world, when you can do that, the door goes from opaque to transparent, and then that transparency allows you to say, "Oh, oh yes, that's me. That's
mhm.
for me." Or
Yeah,
someone else might see it and say, "Oh, I'm not sure I can go there yet." You know, there's like a readiness for the receptivity to enter. And all these things we're talking about are so nebulous and so you can't put a pin on any of this. It's a floating. That's why I love the paintings because they're floating, and
yeah,
that floating helps you move, and even the word move indicates you're either here or there. We
right.
actually need another language to even be talking about this.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I feel like a lot of this consciousness shifting that we've been going through for
Mhm.
a while sort of really solidified when we started adopting quantum physics, because that allows for
Yes.
the
Mhm.
the energy to contain all information, the
Mhm.
concept of source as a science, and it also
Mhm.
allows for this, energy to be in two places at one time and to understand everything as a vibration. So art, food,
Yes.
you know, these are safe places to actually make some changes in your life. Like,
Mhm.
you know, not to talk politics or anything, but when you start getting into systems that are more structured, it's very difficult to see where to change them. But when you separate from that, like you're talking about in a more abstract way, then you're part of the system. So as you separate and you become more consciously shifted, your system has to, in order to contain you, to hold you. And so the more people that are taking the shift, the more obvious the changes will need to be around you, like a door going from opaque to transparent. It's like, so meditation is a great way to do that. Food is a great way to help, because that works on the physiological way. Art helps bring in energy that's, I mean, a lot of people can't be outside all the time, so art is like a second best to nature. But I also feel like nature is full of things that we take for granted. Like, we name a bird and it's a bird, versus art. An artist's been always famous for this. They can paint something we haven't really seen exactly that before, especially the more abstract artists you get. So they can paint energy, and you can look at things anew. You can pause, versus what nature offers, which is really interesting. Because one of the things that happened to me really recently is during COVID was I spent more time outside because there was nothing else to do. So I'd go on these really long walks, and being somewhat clairvoyant, I'm like listening to all these flowers start to talk to me. And I'm like, I have a background in photography, but I'm like, I'm not a flower photographer. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, but you see what we're doing. And I'm like, what is it that you're doing? And they're like, we're shifting the consciousness of the world pretty exponentially right now, because everything's shut down, and you can see it. So you need to take pictures of it. I'm like,
yes. Beauty shifts consciousness.
Yeah, right.
In form.
Well, and the flowers what the flowers were saying is we don't have any karma, because we're not a tree. Like, a tree remembers things from the last 100 years or however old it is.
Yes.
Or a person or an animal or anything like that. But a flower is just fresh. So what they're offering is like the combination of the shift that's taking place from the sun and the earth. And they offer it to you every single time in a slightly different color, slightly different pattern. And they form these grids that go vastly across, the globe. And they're not ordered, our traditional structure of borders and stuff like that dependent. And so, a field of daisies can be blooming, and they're shifting the consciousness. And if you're aware of it, then it really affects you. If you're not aware of it, it still affects you, but it's not as potent. But these flowers are like, you can do this. And I ended up with this huge portrait project during COVID that was pretty amazing and fun to do, and was transforming people. As I'd just walk around, I'd find somebody who's all depressed, and I'm like, how about I take your portrait and mesh it with flowers and the energy of flowers. It wasn't really just a flower thing, it was the energy, and they would just suddenly have a purpose in the middle of their depression over COVID. It was really interesting how that worked, and I did all that just as a community service.
Can you show us your cup?
Oh, my cup. Yeah. This is a marvelous power bloom of crocus that I found one day when I was out taking pictures. And I use special lenses. Everything's done with macro lenses. And this one, I just love it. I feel like it upgrades whatever I put in it to drink from. Time.
Yeah, it gives you so much pleasure, visual pleasure, that when you, and also the weight of it when you're holding it.
Oh yeah.
Also gives you like some stability, and it's a force to be reckoned with. And when you put things inside of it, you're really got to hold on.
Yep. And this is yeah, it's probably why I call it a power bloom. So yeah, this
Mhm.
mug, if anybody wants one, I can order them one. I think I can't remember if they're on my website anymore or not. Um, but it's I also sell prints of this and cards of that particular. Someone has bought most of my big prints of it now, so I don't have one to show you, but there I do have like a lot of flower.
Oh
um
yes,
I
yes. Your
I call
your
this
books
new earth flowers, and these were some of the
Mhm.
flowers that were speaking to me and shifting consciousnesses.
and your
And
photography and like the flowers made you take their picture. You never would
they
have done
still
this
they
if you
still
didn't hear
do.
them.
Yeah, they still do. There's a bougainvillea. um
Oh yay, huh?
and just so much information in there, and so much joy and color. And
Mhm.
this one is this one, the message from the flower was non-duality with, let's see if, non-duality within duality. And I don't know why exactly they sent me that message, but basically um, there's a duality, there's a non-duality
Mhm.
within duality that we need to be seeking. um, I'm a big I'm a big believer in non-duality mindfulness practices.
Yes, yes, yes. I think we have to leave our Cartesian selves behind.
Yeah, and it's a practice, you know. Can't beat yourself
Mhm.
up if anything doesn't go the way you wanted it to go. But this one was a message from a forget me not, and it said, "Forget me not, thank you." I just kind of wanted to add on to its name, "Forget me not, thank you."
Well, see, not only are the flowers beautiful, they have a sense of humor.
They do indeed. They're not all serious. I tend to
No.
get a little serious, but they're not serious. They're just
Mhm.
they're just like, we're here. You know, if you feel bad, just go out and sit in a field of flowers. And they want you to know, this is the message, this one message they want you to know. They said the weeds are working really hard. Don't kill us. So they want you to know that the
Mhm.
dandelions pop up when the soil is bad, the chicory pops up when the soil's bad, the queen anne's lace pops
Mhm.
up when the soil's bad, and they're actually doing a lot to re um, revive that soil. And
Mhm.
they're in the buttercups, you know, all these things that we want out of our yards. They're like, you know, leave some of us, allow some of us, you know, because
Mhm.
we're actually in a way like harder workers than your average, you know, hybrid garden variety. Not to diss anybody, but that's, they're
Right,
like
right.
the,
We're not blaming the beautiful ones. We're not blaming them, but they're pampered. They get pampered. The dandelions are just out there trying to do their best with
well,
whatever is around.
yeah, and the dandelions are actually one of the first spring flowers that, and they work really
Mhm.
hard. Sorry, I'm making a little noise. Can you open this up? The
Mhm.
dandelions are one of the best synthesizers of the sun in creating
Mhm.
um, very rich soils, and they almost don't grow unless the soil's bad. So when you see,
And you can make dandelion salads out of them too with the
you can roast
leaves.
the roots and make a
Yes.
drink. You can
Mhm.
make, the flowers are very good in salads. So take the flowers and sprinkle them around. The leaves are,
Mhm.
you know, high in antioxidants and very good for you to eat.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have a whole thing on edible flowers. I might actually make a real big book on it, but I have one called Flower Feasting.
Oh yeah.
It's,
Do you have nasturtiums in there?
um, uh,
Because they probably don't grow near you. In California, we used to put nasturtiums in our salads, and rose petals.
yeah, I've taken many, many pictures of nasturtiums out of my gardens.
Mhm.
But I'm looking, I don't think this one actually has a nasturtium in there. But one of my favorites is that it has the marigold, and these are kind of scrappy
Oh,
looking marigolds, but they had a message for me that day.
yes,
Marigold
yes, like little
petals,
houses.
they actually make lutein out of marigolds. It's one of the best
Mhm,
things for your eyes. So all summer
mhm.
long, I would take these marigold petals and I'd put them right in your salads and eat them every day. Or on
Mhm.
my website, there's a recipe for marigold butter.
And mosquitoes don't like them.
Correct. Actually, a lot of the
Mhm,
edible flowers mosquitoes don't like.
mhm.
But yeah, I have all kinds of things in here, like the bachelor
Oh,
buttons.
oh, I love bachelor buttons. I used in the South, they were used to cover the whole fields.
I
I don't
know.
see them so much, but I love them. They're very nostalgic for me, as well as hollyhocks.
Oh
Ooh,
yeah,
beautiful.
hollyhocks. That's a little fleabane in there, and the fleabane is another one of those weeds that grows everywhere.
Mhm.
And this one is this one. I don't know if you can see it or not, but that's a chicory flower that grows on
Chicory,
this.
unconditional love.
Yeah, and that grows on the, you know, unwanted spaces of everywhere in this country.
Mhm.
I was just uncovering this one called Tatting Light. This one's my one on Queenie and Lace. One of my favorite weeds.
Oh, of course, tatting light. I always wanted to learn how to tat. I had aunties that could tat, um, and to watch them with the spool and their fingers, and I always wanted to learn. I had several clients who could tat, but
It's
I
not too
can't.
late.
It's too much. It's too much.
There's a little queen there. Yeah, I know. Tatting is. They probably have AI machines now that tat.
Oh, I'm sure the Amish people still tat.
Yeah, I'm sure they
And you
do.
can
I'm.
buy the spools. You can buy the spools and you can buy a book to show you how to do it. But there's nothing like sitting next to somebody who can show you how to do it.
Oh yeah, that's true. I know a lot of in-person stuff.
Tell me, Kieran, a little bit more about you as a human. How old were you, or do you remember when you first realized that you could hear, see, think, feel things beyond yourself?
Um. Well, uh, as a kid, I could lay in bed and levitate.
Uh huh.
Um, but I was kind of one of those people you describe as a trauma baby. Um,
Hmm.
there's a lot of some, rough things happened to my older brother when I was about 5 months old, and it
Hmm.
created a lot of fear and trauma. I guess
Hmm.
that nervous system that was a little off, and my mom
Hmm.
had four more kids, and she was, I think, so wrapped up and taking care of a special needs person and the rest of us that
Hmm.
I just started to disassociate a lot. So um I think that was my superpower, to be able to disassociate.
Yeah, go somewhere else and go for
Yeah,
something else. And excuse me.
and leave parts of myself behind here and there. And it was interesting. My brother passed in 2023, and he, in the process of all that, my other siblings were telling
Mhm,
stories of all the things I used to do for him,
mhm.
and I'm like, I don't even remember. I think I was like disassociating my entire
That was somebody else, but it was you.
childhood. It was me,
Mhm,
but um, I was elsewhere, and probably
mhm,
on the beach or in the woods playing.
mhm,
But I was always connected to art. My parents were both creative, and my dad was a design builder,
mhm,
and I went to school for art. Yeah, I think it brought me some solace, and I was also very connected to poetry. I was always connected to
mhm,
the words, and in
mhm,
college, um, I ended up going in the direction of graphic design because that kind of incorporated the words and the.
mhm,
But my degree is in fine arts, and went on to the advertising world and spent 20 years there. Actually, probably more like 25 years. I had my own agency for 20 years.
Mhm.
In that process, I got sicker and sicker, and I think it was a lot of
I was going to
unresolved.
say, was it killing your soul?
Well, not resolving that trauma, having it was all
Mhm.
buried. So we had no idea that anything was
Uh-huh.
trauma. So I think by my 40s, I was like, well, maybe my late 30s, early 40s. I can't remember the exact timeline. I was really feeling terrible, and I had ripped a muscle in my leg, and I'm like, I used to think I was going to live forever. Now I don't think I'm going to live another year. Nor
Oh,
am I
at
sure I
30.
want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I was in pain all the time, and I had every chronic disease in the world, and so I ran into just a bunch of things started to get synchronized all at once, and maybe I was
Mm-hmm.
ready to pay attention, but all allopathic procedures had not helped me at all. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had exhausted that. And but I grew up, we didn't know about masseuses or
Or
acupuncture
naturopath, or
or
yes,
eating
Ayurvedic.
for health, none of
Mm-hmm.
that, right? So I someone bought me a massage. At the same time, I heard this special on NPR about people who are allergic to nightshades, and then
Yes. Mm-hmm.
discovered that I was allergic to nightshades in part while I was feeling
Mm-hmm.
nauseous, and
And probably
so
lectins too.
pardon me. Yeah,
Lectins.
it
Yeah.
could have been. It could have been, but
Mm-hmm.
back then the knowledge was not
Mm-hmm.
commonplace, and doctors were like, "Well, you're nauseous. We're going to have to give you a pregnancy test." And I'm like,
Whoa.
can you understand? I feel like I've been nauseous for like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to back out of this office slowly, and you're not going to send me a bill because I'm not paying for that anymore, paying
Mm-hmm.
for that kind of advice. But, it's hard, I think, for doctors when it's complicated, when there's trauma
Yes.
and
And
there's,
they're in a time crunch, and there's an office manager that says you spent too much time with that patient. You're messing up our stats.
yeah, but I think they've shut off. I think most doctors are really smart and have a lot of connections, and I think they shut them off through the schooling process.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that because you don't go into healing if you're not a healer. But anyway,
Healer.
but the anyway, so I ended up, of all people, I ended up at Dr. Berg's office, and he's all over the internet now with his form of advice. But back
Mm-hmm.
then he was doing something very
Is
different.
that Eric? You talking about Eric
Yeah,
Berg?
yeah, Eric
Okay.
Berg,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Eric Berg, and he was doing. He had a background in nutrition and a background in acupuncture and one in
Mm-hmm.
chiropractic, and he understood my allergies. Someone said, "Here, go to this guy. He understands allergies." So the allergy got me a ticket into him, and he was doing all this. He got rid of all my allergies, and he started advising me on food. And I remember the first day he said, "Well, you can't eat." What did he say? You can't
Tomatoes.
eat. No, he said you can't eat toast anymore with your egg. And I remember my heart sinking to my feet. Like, how can anybody eat an egg without toast? I mean, that's how stupid I was back then. And he's like, you got to eat kale. And I'm like thinking at the same time, well, what is kale?
Right.
This is
What is that? What is that stuff?
30 years ago, I'm like, so anyway, I had a lot to learn, and I got better, and I got better, and I got better, and I started working with other medical intuitives, and I've been on a kick with
Mm-hmm.
working with medical intuitives because they
Mm-hmm.
diagnose me like that. And once you're diagnosed accurately, then
Mm-hmm.
they
Everything else.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, when friends that go to other doctors call me up, because now I have a world of knowledge too, and they call me up and ask me
Mm-hmm.
questions. They're like, look at this diagnosis by my doctor. And I'm like, he's written it like a question. He doesn't know.
Exactly. Exactly.
Something like
It's a
that.
rule out.
Right. So, but anyway, that's me. And I sold my ad agency. I traveled. I started studying food, and I traveled staying at food farms all over Latin and South America, learning. I wanted to learn more about food, and where it comes from, and native foods, and how you prepare it. And it was a fabulous time for me. Then I did a short stint as a helping some NASA scientists invent a wearable tech that tells you how much sun you get. So I became an expert in sun exposure. But I never, and at the same time, I started painting again. And, this time when I was painting, I was like, I'm only going to paint light. But at that point in my life, I'd already transitioned my consciousness quite a bit. And even when I was the CEO of the tech company, I was like, every day I wrote down all the things that need to be done, which was nearly impossible to get done. And I'd say, dear universe, here's all the things that need to get done. All this or something better. I turned everything over to the universe.
Yes.
And I'd be surprised how many things would just get done, and I'm like, where a manufacturer would appear that was a good one, or things became really easy. And so I started working, that was practice for me to be able to manifest like that, versus trying to do it all myself. Not that it still wasn't a lot of work, but there's an ease that comes to things that you can solicit the universe to help. Yes. So I started to learn to listen to the universe. So, my paintings have helped me transform. They can help other people transform. The flowers, I had to listen to them. The food, I have to listen to it. And, and the food says, the garlic says, you've got to, make this little recipe book. I'm like, okay. So
you have the connections, you have the talent, you can do these things. You can do the photography, you know how to do this, like the design, how to do all this kinds of stuff. But you could also do like a print on demand also too for your books if you wanted to. There's lots of that around.
Yeah, the print version is going to be the next one. I struggled with, coming up with the print one right in the beginning, but I thought, in a way, everybody's moving to a lot of this online ebook stuff anyway. So I'll start with that. And then the print one, it's only, a few more clicks to get the print on demand one, but I think we needed to get this set up first, and then we'll see. It's going to start to get out there. The people I have testing on my recipes from it have been really happy. I mean, part of it is designed to change the way you make dressings and make and create a sort of a psychology for making dressings fun. Like it's fun to make your own dressing, and it's fun and you can be very creative with it. And the idea of the recipes I put together, that they work, but also that they would kind of encourage you to be more playful with the type of dressings you make.
I think also too, it encourages you to understand each ingredient. Like we're doing the garlic, and we're doing this sort of activity of smashing it, and then we're taking the husk off, and then we may or may not, grate it or chop it or whatever we're going to do, or put it in a blender or whatever. But we have a relationship with each little part that we put into the dressing. So the dressing becomes almost like a whole that you're thinking of, as opposed to like, oh, this is just the dressing. No, it's got all these parts and pieces in it, and all those parts and pieces are interacting with you to do things for you. And when you can feel that, like you're feeding your mitochondria on like such a intimate level, it's quite remarkable when you think about it in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great word, mitochondria. I had to learn that word, and it's like rolls off my tongue now, but some of the other words are a little harder to get. But yeah, it's all the dressings in there are antioxidant rich. I give little bits of advice about, the health benefits of certain ingredients together with other ingredients. But for the most part, store-bought dressings offer very little in the way of nutrition. And they just, making your own can be a lot of fun. It can be more fun than making the salad itself. That's the way I look at it. Now the salads, I can hear the salad saying, no, we're fun too.
Yes, we can be different leaves, and we can be combinations of leaves, and go get some dandelions, and all those kind of things together.
Right. Go get some dandelions or marigolds, or the violas are great fun in salads. I have a blast when I'm using violas. Violas and pansies are such happy,
particularly pansies. They're just like sitting there going, "Hi."
Exactly.
They're doing their thing with their little stem. They're waving in the breeze. They even look like they have little happy faces on.
They do look like they have happy faces. I'm trying to think. I have these, for anybody who really likes flowers, I have these. This is called Botanical Vision. This is like.
Yes. I was going to ask you to show us those cards.
Yeah, this is an oracle deck that I made. Well, the flowers don't like it when I say I made it, but the flowers made it.
Love it.
So these are all the different flowers that showed up for the oracle deck. There's the front of it, Botanical Vision. That's the morning glory from my garden. And I was going to look in here and see if there was a pansy. But I could also do a reading for you. Oh, yeah. Here's a pansy. And it says...
face yourself.
Yes.
Face yourself.
Right. Face yourself. Look in the mirror. You're okay. Yeah, but they are on my website.
Well, we should go to your website, and first of all, we've got to get this book about the garlic dressing, because garlic is inexpensive. It's readily available anywhere. I've never tried growing it. It seems like I would like to just buy it in the store instead of like having it in the garden. But I've never tried it.
There's nothing wrong with buying it in the store, other than they would like you to buy the organic one. But if you don't, just bless it, because blessing your food can kind of raise the vibration. Yeah, garlic's pretty interesting. The garlic, in my book, I talk about little anecdotes, and one of them is that Chicago is actually a native word for field of garlics.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
It's kind of interesting, huh? So
it's amazing. Yes.
It was considered really important.
Well, the more we understand about the food we put in our body, how we can actually use it to change our vibration and make us more healthy, without having to spend money on health care. We can make our own antibiotics. We can do a lot of things for ourselves. But I think sometimes the lack of intention, like, you don't know what you don't know. So when someone listens to this podcast and they're hearing you talk with such fervor and passion about the flowers, about garlic, about things that we put into our bodies to actually help us heal areas that sometimes we might not even know we need healing, it just gives us a little bit more inspiration, gives us a little bit more motivation to get out there and try something new. And I try to encourage people, like, just go into the grocery store, look around, don't get that tunnel vision, don't go straight to the potatoes, don't go straight to the tomatoes. Look around. There's a whole orchestra in there of different notes for you. There's dragon fruit, which is probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, the pink and the white.
Oh
There's
yeah.
jicama. Jicama actually is just one big fibrous thing that you can chew if you want the chewy flavor and put it in your salad. You can eat it. I like to just chop it up and eat it as a snack, like
Hmm.
make it look like a French fry and chop it. It's
Yeah.
delicious. It's delicious, and it gives you that sensation of eating something um, with a lot of crunch, as
Yeah,
opposed to
exactly.
yeah, yeah. So there's foods all around, and I try to get people to just try one new food, fruit or vegetable a week. Just try it out. There's plenty of recipes on the internet you can incorporate into stews and all those kinds of things. But yes, we're going to use food, and food is medicine for sure.
I think if you go into the store with the intention to listen to, excuse me,
Mhm,
listen to the food
mhm,
um, that wants to go home with you,
mhm,
especially, if you're going to be willing to go over to the section of the foods that you don't normally buy from,
mhm,
um, like the more exotic fruits and
mhm.
vegetables. You just listen and look, you'll see one of them will be more vibrant than the rest of them. And that could be your sign that that's the one you're going to try that time.
Mhm,
You can just hear the food and then you can go home
mhm.
later and figure out what you're supposed to do with it and how you're supposed to eat
Mhm.
it. It can be really playful with the whole thing. You don't have to be like,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah, especially if you have children. And they're
oh,
gonna
yeah.
say, "Mother, you've lost your mind, right? You've really lost your mind." Yes, you have. You've gone nuts on us. But we know we're gonna say we're gonna look for the food that we're attracted to because
Hmm.
it's calling us. And it doesn't have to be all woo-woo. It's just when people understand that everything in the world has a vibration, we could call it a wavelength, we call it any number of things, but it interacts back and forth.
Well, I think children actually would understand that if you said that
Mhm,
this food, this type of pear asked me to buy it today, and we're
mhm,
gonna all try it. Kids
mhm,
actually do understand that. Maybe not when they get to be preteens and teenagers,
mhm,
and they
mhm,
are on their own planet. But
mhm.
young kids are still connected, and they'll let you know. Um, I don't have a printed version of this
Oh,
garlic
yes,
here, but this is the cover,
yes, we can see it really well.
and this says autumn and winter. Um,
Mhm.
ah, woo! It's going too fast for it. So I guess I'm not used to using this on here, but um, so
Yes, garlic
there's
loves you.
yeah, garlic loves you. That's actually the title that I really wanted to use. Garlic loves you because
Mhm,
that's what I hear from garlic, that it really
mhm,
loves you, but people advised otherwise. But this explains
mhm,
how to use it, why to use it, the spiritual effects of garlic in
mhm.
your life. There's a pile of garlic that I've smashed that's just waiting to.
That's a beautiful picture. The
Oh, thank you.
composition of it's beautiful.
Oh, thanks. That's about how much garlic would go in an average dressing.
Mhm,
And then these are tips for making dressings, um, salts to use, stuff like that. And
mm,
then you start in with the recipes. Like this is your apple sage dressing, and I explain, why these two together and what they do for you, and then actually give you the recipe. And that's persimmon. I guess you could see
mhm.
it. That's
Oh, yes, pears.
the pear dressing because pears are really big in the winter. It's
Mhm.
odd how many pears are in
Oh,
there. Oh,
we have, Meyer lemons. Oh, people just they give them away in buckets, the Meyer
oh,
lemons.
I have my own Meyer lemon tree, so I actually had a lot
Mhm,
this winter. That was my bumper crop year, but this this I actually fermented my own horseradish too. But this is a really fun one. Is the
mhm.
horseradish Meyer lemon one?
Oh, the pomegranate.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, a
I'm
lot of
definitely attracted to pomegranate, although you have to eat it in the bathtub.
fun. You have to pull them apart in the sink. There's all kinds of really good tricks for doing it, for sure. Um,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
tahini one.
Oh, yes. Creamies. Yes.
I actually recommend using sesames and grinding them down rather than the tahini, just because you get a
Mhm.
fresher release
Mhm.
of them. And this one is
Oh, yeah. This one I'd love. Spicy ginger shallot. Yes.
yeah, this one is one of the favorites that people have been responding back that they really like. There's the chestnut rosemary one. Chestnut I'm using as the fat in this because you don't
Mhm.
always have to stick with olive oil. There's the mandarin.
Oh,
Um,
I definitely go for cashews. That's for sure.
and then
And
there's
I do like anchovies, and it's on my bucket list to get back into eating anchovies.
well, this one is a really powerful one for the brain,
Mhm.
and it's like loaded with omega 3s. And
Mhm.
again, the walnuts are being used as the fat in this one, and the anchovies have fat in them. And this one's really good on salads, but it's also really good on pastas. So these are not dressings that, and there's a little bit about me on the back side of it. These dressings are um,
Not necessarily for salads. Like I have
Mhm.
spicy ginger shallot one. One of my friends is like, I've been making that every day, and I put it on my burritos. I put it on my
Everywhere.
chicken. I put it on everything. So she's like really having a good time with it, and it's yeah, it's I made a. I don't have the recipe in this particular book, but I have one I just was playing with mango, and had some people over, and they're like, they put it all over their rice. They're like, this is the best. Rice and mango garlic dressing. I'm like, who knew? You know, it's like this is the fun though of like getting out of the um, normal use of salad dressings and buying them yourself and stuff.
The playfulness, the visionary. Well, we actually have spent a whole hour. I can't believe
Okay.
it, but it's been a
Wow.
whole hour. And what
All right.
I'd like to do is, if you have any, well, I don't say pearls of wisdom. You always have pearls of wisdom, but anything you particularly want to say that would help encourage people to think more about their food and how it can actually help them with their bodies.
Um, I think we covered quite a bit, but I think the food in general would just, it really wants to say we're here to help. Um, it, it can go a little deeper than that by saying, it's saying that, don't worry if you can't afford organic and blah, blah, blah. But, we're here to help. Um, if you can recognize us as a food, we're more likely to be a food.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, not to diss a major brand, but Captain Crunch doesn't really look like a food.
No.
But, a carrot does look like a food.
Mm-hmm.
So if it looks more like a food, then, the less refined, the better. But they're saying
Yes,
if it looks
exactly.
like food, it might be.
Mm-hmm.
I myself, my body doesn't like any refined foods unless I
Right.
refine them myself. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like really particular, but it's blessing the food,
Mm-hmm.
having some reverence, going back to saying grace. Grace is we kind of replaced grace with prayers of gratitude, if we do that at all before
Mm-hmm.
we eat. And gratitude is a very high vibrating energy that
Mm-hmm.
lifts the energy of your food and lifts your own body, so you absorb the food better. The food gets
Mm-hmm.
happier, you get happier, it all becomes good. So adding that practice into your eating would be good, but grace is a way above gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
if you can actually manage going into a state of grace before you eat and thanking the food and all
The source that
yeah,
created it.
sun and the earth and the
Mm-hmm.
everything that got all the people involved in it, you actually no matter what you're eating, can become healthier eating it.
Yes. Yes.
It won't be taking your energy down a bit. And it's,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're eating animal products, it's good to bless it, or go with
Yes.
that grace, or at least gratitude, because gratitude's pretty dang good.
Yes, well, I am definitely going to. I'm going to go retrieve my groceries today, and I'm definitely going to get more garlic and just nose around and see what's available in my little local store. I might have to do an online thing, but this has been so remarkable, Kieran. I love talking to you about all the aspects of your creativity. Um, you as an artist, you're such a fine artist as well as a visionary artist. And I encourage people to go to your website, take a look at all the things that you're so good at, and they will be attracted to maybe a book on flowers, or maybe this or that, or maybe a book on tatting, like a Queen Anne's Lace book. Whatever book they're encouraged to take a look at. But I just appreciate you so much, and I appreciate you taking the time to be on this podcast today. Good Body, Good Brain. And on the show notes, everyone, you will see all the opportunities to look at things that Kieran has created, and go on her website and try to start being more playful with food, being more playful in the world to help us be stronger, better servants for ourselves and for others. Because it boils down to how more healthy we can be, so that we can actually serve others as well as ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. That was very well said. And thank you so much. Is it Dr. Sally or Sally?
Well, I am a doctor, but it's whatever. It's Dr. Sally. Sometimes it's Dr. Good.
I like
People
I like calling people doctor, so I'll call you Dr. Sally.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. And please let me know if you try one of the dressings.
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. Okay, I'm going to end this recording now. Please follow and subscribe Good Body, Good Brain podcast. And I look forward to seeing you all for the next time.